Good afternoon and welcome to the Lincoln City Council. In accordance with LB 898, please be advised that posted in the back of the room is a copy of the Open Meetings Act by the northwest door. Let's all rise for the Pledge of Allegiance, followed by a moment of silent meditation.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Please be seated. The order of business of the City Council is as follows. The clerk will call the items listed on the agenda. Under public hearing, anyone wishing to speak on an item must first register and sign in at the table located in the lobby. The council shall require any member of the public desiring to address the council to identify himself or herself, including an address and the name of any organization, unless the address requirement is waived to protect the security of the individual. Anyone wishing to speak on an item on the agenda should come forward after the clerk reads that item. The applicant may then make one short rebuttal. Each speaker should begin by stating their name, address, organization, and whether you are speaking in favor of or in opposition to the item. Testimony is limited to 5 minutes per speaker. After all public hearings, the council will vote on resolutions and items listed under third reading. On the second and last Mondays of each month, immediately prior to adjournment, anyone may speak on any issue not on the agenda for that date nor planned for a future agenda. Madam Clerk, would you please call our first item of business?
Our first item of business today is our Mayor's Award of Excellence.
Mayor Gaylor Baird, welcome.
Thank you, Chairman Beckus. Good afternoon, members of the council. It's truly a pleasure to be back with another Mayor's Award of Excellence, this for March of 2024. And this one is going to Investigator Scott Parker from the Lincoln Police Department. You all know who Investigator Parker is. He keeps you safe here in the chambers. He was nominated by Lincoln Police Department Sergeant Chris Vollmer in the category of productivity and loss prevention for his work to help build a new online platform to facilitate training for local hospitality professionals who manage, serve, or sell alcohol. And that work began in the spring of 2022 when Investigator Parker informed Sergeant Vollmer of opportunities to improve the Responsible Hospitality Council's website. The Responsible Hospitality Council, or RHC, is a community coalition of diverse perspectives interested in the responsible sale and service of alcohol. And the City of Lincoln hosts the RHC's website, which includes mandatory online training for individuals in the hospitality industry. That training is obviously very important to our broader community, and it provides hospitality business owners and employees with information they need to ensure the safety of their customers and community members to whom they serve alcohol, and it supports effective management of their liquor licenses. And with these important purposes in mind, Investigator Parker spent 18 months working together with our partners at the Lincoln Lancaster County Health Department, the City of Lincoln Information Services, and the State of Nebraska Liquor Control Commission to revamp the RHC's website and its online training. And thanks to his effort, today the new website has several features that make it more accessible and more convenient for users. Some of those features include training aids, online payment, automated tracking for training attendance, and auto-generated certificates and renewal notifications for current certificate holders. Also, Investigator Parker's actions are just a shining example of our work to be an innovative and operationally excellent city, which is one of the 5 outcome areas that we pursue with our city services. In his nomination letter, Sergeant Vollmer stated, quote, "This has not been an easy undertaking and has required coordination with numerous stakeholders in city, county, state government, and the private sector." With that, I hope you will please join me in congratulating Investigator Parker for his exemplary commitment to the health and safety of our community members and innovative and operational excellence here at the City of Lincoln. And we have Chief of Police Michonne Morrow here to share some comments as well.
Yeah. Good afternoon, Council. It's always a great day to be able to come and celebrate the accomplishments of one of our staff at the Lincoln Police Department. And I'm really excited about this one because it's slightly different than some of the others that we've celebrated recently. And it really showcases how a singular person, in particular now at the Lincoln Police Department with Investigator Parker, but really could be anyone throughout LPD or in our city, can identify a deficiency or a challenge and commit to it with passion and see it through. I remember in January of 2021 coming upstairs and had the ability to really start working with Investigator Parker, who had been in that role for a year, and trying to understand what he does. It was newer to me as like really experiencing working with it on a daily basis. And he was so committed to it and thoroughly enjoying the work and the relationships that he was building and starting to understand areas that he could improve upon. And we challenged him and said, yeah, absolutely. If we can make a difference, let's work through it. And here we are in 2024, and we have this incredible system that through his dedication and partnerships with so many meetings and conversations across the city and state to be able to make this happen. We're just really proud of him and the work that he did, and continue to this day to get feedback from those that interact with the system through the hospitality group, saying just how fantastic it is. It's far more efficient and user-friendly, all because Investigator Parker identified a challenge and decided that he could make a difference, and we're really proud of him.
All right, I was told I had 30 seconds, so I'll keep it to that. Thank you, Mayor, and Michonne for the kind words and everything. This project it encompassed several people, and this isn't a singular thing that's on me. First and foremost, Pat Lopez with the Health Department, just, obviously cultivating that ability to work amongst different departments seamlessly. Every time I was over there for meetings, it was, if I'd see her in the hall, hey, how you doing? Thanks for being here and everything. But the extraordinary work to a lot of her employees as well, not limited to, but Justin Daniel. I mean, he has done an excellent job and continues to do an excellent job in this. Jeffrey Chambers, Matthew Husk, and Brent Pavel have all really spearheaded the effort. If anybody knows me, I break computers. I don't write code or anything like that, so that is not my forte at all. So it started as an idea, and they really are the ones that ran with it and have continued to work on it and, hopefully get it out there to make things a little bit easier for the citizens and businesses that want to make Lincoln their home. And I think that's very important. So again, thank you, Mayor and Chief, for this, and thanks.
Do you have any family here
Yes,
you'd like to
yes.
share, introduce us to?
My girlfriend Allison, and my beautiful daughter Melina.
Aw.
So, thanks.
We appreciate your family's support of your work and innovative service to the city. And I don't know if there are any comments from the council before we depart, but
Council, any comments before we let Investigator Parker go celebrate a little bit before he gets back here? No, he's done. Okay, very good.
I have to get my daughter to dance, so.
Oh, fair. Fair. Well, I will just say on behalf of all of us, thank you very much for your dedicated service, not only for the work that you do here with us at the City Council, but this particular project and the impact that this project has for the businesses that are impacted here. We really appreciate it very much, and this is recognition well-deserved, and thank you, Investigator Parker.
Thanks.
Thank you.
I'm glad you're our Sergeant of Arms and working with big job, big task, big responsibility.
Thank you.
You're the right person for the job.
Thanks.
Here,
Appreciate it.
here.
Thanks.
All right.
All right.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
We will give our award winner and his guests a few moments. Madam Clerk, whenever you are ready.
Next on our agenda today for Monday, May 6, 2024 would be our Board of Equalization.
This meeting is called to order. Our first meeting of the Board of Equalization, or excuse me, our first order of business for the Board of Equalization is to elect a chair, so I'll open the floor for nominations.
I would nominate Council Chair Beckius as the Chair of the Board of Equalization.
Second?
Second, Carlson. Clerk, please call the vote.
Washington,
Yes.
Weber,
Yes.
Bowers,
Yes.
Carlson,
Yes.
Duden,
Yes.
Schob,
Yes.
Beckius.
Yes.
Motion carried 7-0.
The order of the business of the Board of Equalization is as follows. Each year, the Lincoln City Council passes a number of improvement district ordinances. Today, we are here to equalize the assessment for several such districts. The College View Maintenance Business Improvement District, the Havelock Street Maintenance Business Improvement District, the North 27th Street Maintenance Improvement District, the South Street Maintenance Business Improvement District, the University Place Maintenance Business Improvement District, and the West O Maintenance Business Improvement District. The land described in each of these districts are benefited by the improvements in the districts. The cost of these services are paid for by the city from its Special Assessment Revolving Fund. It is then necessary for the city to recoup its costs from the benefited properties and reimburse its revolving funds. These costs or assessments are computed by the Urban Development Department and presented to the city for its review when sitting as the Board of Equalization, as we are now. The clerk will read a description of each district individually from the agenda. After the district is read, a representative from the Urban Development Department will come forward to make a brief statement about the district. Then anyone wishing to testify may come forward. We ask that if you do come forward to please sign in at the table located in the lobby. And please state your name and address before making your comments. Madam Clerk, would you please call the first item?
College View Maintenance Business Improvement District, generally extended from South 48th Street between Calvert Street and Pioneers Boulevard. Havelock Street Maintenance Business Improvements District, generally extending from Havelock Avenue from Cornhusker Highway on the west to 64th Street on the east. North 27th Street Maintenance Business Improvement District, generally extending from North 26th Street on the west to North 28th Street on the east, and from the center line of O Street on the north to Fair Street on the south, primarily including those properties abutting North 27th Street. South Street Maintenance Business Improvement District, generally extending from South Street from the alley west of 9th Street east to 19th Street. University Place Maintenance Business Improvement District, generally extending along North 48th Street, from Colby Street on the south to the half block north of Adams Street on the north, and along St. Paul Avenue from North 47th Street to North 50th Street, and West O Street Maintenance Business Improvement District, generally along West O Street from 3rd Street on the east to the Homestead Expressway on the west, and including the property abutting the north and south sides of West O Street right-of-way.
Hello, sir. How are you?
Oh, pretty good.
Welcome.
Thank you. These districts, the proposed assessments before you today are all districts based on expenditures during the calendar year for 2023.
You want to start with your name real quick? Sorry.
Pardon?
Do you want to start with your name real quick for the record?
Ron Kane, Urban
Ron,
Development
sorry.
Department. Again, all of these assessments are based on calendar year expenditures, and they're assessed on a front-foot basis. And I'm here to answer any questions you may have regarding the proposed assessments.
And those assessments are items that we addressed actually previous to this meeting. So right now, we're just equalizing those assessments.
Right.
So,
So these are based on actual expenditures that have already been incurred, so.
yep, very good. What questions do we have for Ron? Any questions, counselors?
I don't have a question.
Okay, very good. Well, thank you so much for coming down. We appreciate it. And we may call you back if we have any more. So, very good. Let's go ahead and see if we have any public testimony on this item. Is there anyone here who would like to testify on this, on any of these improvement district items that we're talking about today? Anyone here who would like to testify on these items? All right, seeing none. If we don't have any other questions for Ron, I would entertain a motion.
I would move approval of these assessments.
Second?
Second, Carlson. Any discussion? All right, seeing none.
Now,
Yes.
is there any paperwork or numbers, calculations, that sort of thing that we could look
Ron, do you want to come up? And Councilman Dune has some questions.
I just wanted to know what the numbers were, because, I guess I'm not up to speed on costs that we're talking about.
What, the numbers, what?
The numbers, the amount of expenditures in these areas.
Right. Those were invoices that have been submitted and approved during the course of the year. I personally
You don't have that.
don't have that information. I go through to do the calculations to make sure everybody's assessed at the same rate.
All right, I have a better understanding of it now.
Yeah. Do you mind?
Councilwoman, yes.
Councilman Duden, last week, they were on our agenda, and attached to each of the separate 6 items, there was the total amount. So College View, the total assessed amount was $20,081, and that's to be divided between 11 properties, and then on and on. So each of them
Okay.
were about that, in the low 20s, upper
Yeah,
teens.
appreciate that. Thank you
Yep,
very much.
yep, and that detail can be found in last week's agenda. Any other comments? Okay, let's go ahead and call the roll. Madam Clerk?
Weber,
Yes.
Bowers,
Yes.
Carlson,
Yes.
Duden,
Yes.
Schob,
Yes.
Washington,
Yes,
Beckius.
Yes.
Motion carried 7-0.
I would motion we adjourn.
Second?
Second, Carlson. Please call the roll.
Duden,
Yes.
Weber,
Yes.
Schob,
Yes.
Washington,
Yes.
Carlson,
Yes.
Bowers,
Yes.
Beckius.
Yes.
Motion carried 7-0.
That ends the meeting of the Board of Equalization. We will go ahead and move on to our regular agenda of the regular City Council meeting of May 6th, 2024. Madam Clerk, please call our first item of business.
Our first item of business is our consent agenda, Sections 1, Sections 2, and Sections 3.
Is there anyone here who would like to speak on anything on today's consent agenda? Those are items, or excuse me, Sections 1, 2, and 3. Anyone here to speak on anything regarding anything on today's consent agenda? All right, seeing none, Madam Clerk, please take us through those votes.
Item 1A is approving the distribution of funds representing interest earnings on short-term investments of idle funds during the month ended March 31st of 2024, introduced by Weber.
So moved. Second?
Second, Carlson, discussion. Seeing none, please call the roll.
Carlson,
Yes.
Schob,
Yes.
Duden,
Yes.
Washington,
Yes.
Weber,
Yes.
Bowers,
Yes.
Beckius.
Yes.
Motion carried 7-0. Items 2A and 2B were introduced by Schob.
So moved.
Second?
Second, Weber, discussion. Seeing none, please call the roll.
Schob,
Yes.
Duden,
Yes.
Washington,
Yes.
Weber,
Yes.
Bowers,
Yes.
Carlson,
Yes.
Beckius.
Yes.
Motion carried 7-0. Okay, that concludes our consent agenda. We shall move on to Section 4, Public Hearing Ordinances, Second Reading and Related Resolutions. I'll call items 4A and 4B together. Item 4A and B is Street and Alley Vacation 23005, application of Wilderness Crossing LLC, Kathleen Danker in Lancaster County to vacate a portion of the South First Street right-of-way between Pioneers Boulevard and Old Cheney Road adjacent to the property generally located at South First Street and Pioneers Boulevard, and the related First Amendment to the annexation and change of zone agreement for Wilderness Crossing between the City of Lincoln and Wilderness Crossing LLC for the property generally located at 4700 South First Street.
Danae, welcome.
Good afternoon, members of the council. Danae Kalkowski appearing today on behalf of Wilderness Crossing LLC, 1128 Lincoln Mall, Suite 105. So maybe I'll start just with a little history. So back in May, almost exactly 2 years ago, but May 5th of 2022, the City Council approved a comp plan amendment, annexation agreement, and a change of zone for a PUD for the Wilderness Crossing development. Go ahead and put that map up there. There was robust testimony at both Planning Commission and City Council on those applications. Because of the development's proximity to Wilderness Park and to the sweat lodge that was on the Danker property. So one important design element that was approved as part of the PUD and the annexation agreement was the relocation of First Street to the west. Currently, First Street runs, excuse me, down along the section line. And so there was agreement to move that street to be more of an internal roadway, pull it away from the park and the Danker property, and slow down traffic to basically try to reduce some of the impact to the property to the east. As part of that relocation, Wilderness Crossing agreed to both grant all of the right-of-way needed for the relocated First Street, and the city agreed in both the PUD and in the annexation agreement to then vacate the right-of-way for the existing First Street. So there's approximately 67 feet of right-of-way on the west side that will be coming back to the Wilderness Crossing development. I'll show you exhibit. So I have kind of highlighted the area that's going to be vacated. The vacation request in front of you today vacates all of the existing right-of-way. The west 67 feet will go back to Wilderness Crossing LLC, because that property would have come from this property to begin with. And then on the east 33 feet, you'll see kind of highlighted in blue, there's a section that's adjacent to the Danker property. That will be vacated and deeded back to Mrs. Danker. And then the rest of in the green will remain with the city of Lincoln. So along with the approval of the vacation request, we also have an amendment to the annexation agreement. The original annexation agreement required Wilderness Crossing to be responsible for constructing a driveway from Ms. Danker's property back to where the relocated First Street will be, because it's going to be pulled away from her property. So that was part of the original annexation agreement. Prior to these items being heard on Planning Commission, we had a lot of additional discussions with Ms. Danker and her council about how her property should look, that driveway location, future potential connection to sewer for her property. And those conversations led basically to a private agreement between Ms. Danker and Wilderness Crossing LLC. And what we're doing with the amendment to the annexation agreement is taking some of those terms that we agreed to in the private agreement, putting them into the annexation agreement, so they also have the enforceability of the city for some of those items. I'm going to put another map up for you. So this would be the Danker property. This is going to show you the right-of-way that's being vacated. And then this is the area where the driveway will come through. But the items that are being added in the amendment to the annexation agreement, the developers paid all costs related to the vacation of First Street. So we've added her in, paid her application fees, and gone through the process. The developer is going to design and construct a 13-foot wide paved roadway from the relocated South First Street to the western edge of the Danker property.
Mm-hmm.
And then you'll see that driveway's got a little bulb on it that would allow somebody to turn around and come back out if they needed. Developer will replat the Danker property to include the vacated right-of-way and also this 60 by 130 foot strip. Replatted into one lot, and then the developer will convey this piece of property to Danker, which basically allows her to own and control her property, the driveway, access in and out. Just gives her a little more ability to just control things, have a little more space for parking of cars along both sides of that if it becomes her property versus just dedicated right-of-way. I think those are kind of the main things that we wanted to outline in that annexation agreement amendment. So by replatting Danker's property and deeding that strip, it'll, as I mentioned, allows her to have additional parking, which was very important to her because of the traffic that comes in and out of her site. And all of these agreements, of course, require her to participate in the replatting process, because that's the only way we'll be able to do it. We're asking for your approval of both the street vacation and the amendment to the annexation agreement. The street vacation is simply completing the agreement that both parties made back in when the PUD was approved. And then obviously the amendment to the annexation agreement put some additional protections in there for Ms. Danker that the Wilderness Crossing LLC will be performing for her. We brought this forward for public hearing today so we could answer any questions you might have, but then I'm going to ask you to put the vote for it on pending. The final plat has been submitted, and in fact, the relocated roadway is almost, construction is almost completed on that. But there's a little timing thing between the vacation and when the final plat will dedicate the new right-of-way. And so planning's gonna tell you when that magic time is. But the goal is to have the final plat approved so that the new First Street will show up on city maps. The old First Street will no longer be on the right-of-way maps because it's vacated. Old First Street gravel will be closed, and then the newly paved First Street will be open. So they're trying to manage that, so we get all of that to happen within about a week's time. So they're gonna let you know, but I would anticipate it's gonna be, late this month or in June, because we're trying to get that final plat finished so we can get some lots on the market and move forward. But I'd be happy to answer any questions you might have. And for some of you council members weren't involved here a couple of years ago, or a year ago.
Very good. Thank you, Danae. Appreciate it. Administratively, before we get to questions, are we going to be asking to place on pending both the vacation and the approval?
I think so, because they kind of go together.
Yep. Just wanted to make sure that
Yes.
the
Yes,
desire
please.
was for both. Counselors, questions for Danae?
Chair, I have one.
Yes, sir.
Thank you,
Please,
Mr.
Councilman Chauvin.
Thank you, Ms. Karkowski. I'm a little help me better understand how much of First Street is being relocated. Are you going all, just a visual?
So
It's just a
it's about
section,
half of it.
and then it'll
Benny, if you
divert.
remember, the church property
Yes,
sets to the south of us down, which would be between this property and Old Cheney.
yes.
So we're probably going about half.
Then it'll go back to the
And then
original.
so it comes back, you can see kind of on the south end, it comes back on realignment, and then,
That's the visual I was looking
yes.
for. Thank you.
Yes,
Thank you,
I
Mr.
didn't
Chair.
have that overall map.
Other questions?
Great way to slow up traffic, too.
Yep.
Okay.
Great.
Very good. Thank you so much. Appreciate it. Is there anyone else here who would like to speak on items 4A and 4B? Anyone else here to speak on items 4A and 4B? Counselors, do you have any questions for Director Carey at all? All right. Seeing none, let's go ahead and move forward. Madam Clerk.
I'll read item 4C, amending Chapter 2.18 of the Lincoln Municipal Code relating to the purchasing division by amending sections 2.18.020 and 2.18.030 to raise the threshold for one-time purchases from $10,000 to $50,000.
Is there anyone here to speak on item 4C? Hello.
Hello,
Lynn,
good
welcome.
Good afternoon, council members. Lynn Heaton, Director of Finance, 555 South 10th Street. With me here today is Purchasing Agent Pete Kroll. Pete and I have been working with a number of directors of city departments to develop this change. Today, we have for you an ordinance to amend sections 2.18.020 and 2.18.030 of the Lincoln Municipal Code. This amendment raises the threshold for one-time purchases from $10,000 to $50,000. One-time purchases are purchases of products or services that are determined necessary for the operations of a department by a department director, but that are not already available under contract. Currently, if the estimated cost of a one-time purchase need is over $10,000, a department must stop all work on obtaining the needed product or service and work with the purchasing division to go to a formal bid process. Many times these one-time purchases involve purchase of specialty equipment, parts, or materials that are needed relatively quickly to maintain critical operations. And LTU Director Liz Elliott has joined us today to provide some examples.
Good afternoon. Elizabeth Elliott, Director of Lincoln Transportation Utilities, and I just want to start off by thanking Pete and Lynn for bringing this, because this has been something that's been a challenge for us for a number of years. And when we were talking about it, I asked my team for a few examples that have happened just within the last year, and I've got a long list of them. But a lot of them happen on our utilities division because they're more in the facilities area is predominantly where we see it. So for example, we had a chemical tank repair out at our wastewater facility that was in the neighborhood of $40,000. And we had to shut down. It took our team almost a month to come up with specs, do an RFP. Then it went over to Pete's team. It took them a couple weeks to do all of the work. And then on all of that time, our capacity was down. We risked, coming out of compliance with certain things, those types of things, where if we could have just used this one-time purchase, we could have shaved off almost 6 weeks on this. And so we also run across this in the water side where we have electrical breakers that unexpectedly blow. And those are about $15,000 to $25,000, depending on what goes out at any given time. We also have various mag meters. They're flow meters. Don't ask me beyond that what else it does. But those will occasionally go out on our water facilities as well. And again, that's one, just making sure that we're staying within our regulations, making sure that we are treating as we need to and getting things moved through the system. And unfortunately, right now, the process is you have to go out, write all of the specs, make sure they comply. Sometimes because they are legacy equipments, they're old. No one makes these new parts. We've got to call in. And so then we have to go through the sole source where we have to go through, write this long justification, give it to Pete and his team to sign off on all of it, and then we can go ahead and do it. So this just helps us streamline it and keeps our facilities running with less city resources, because it's not just our department, it's purchasing, it's everybody else as we work through it. So really appreciate the consideration for this, and I do think this will help get some projects moving a little faster and take off some additional unnecessary work on many people. So.
Thanks, Liz. It's important to note that these one-time purchases will continue to go through the existing internal control processes, including approval by the department director via the directorial order and subsequent review and approval by finance department and law department. So all of that will continue as it does today for those dollar item purchases. Pete and I are working on educational materials to share with departments, including convening a purchasing users group to bring department folks together to discuss this and other procurement topics. So we know it's important to have those guardrails in place, and we believe they will still be in place, and we'll certainly be doing the education as well. I'll also note, as an aside, that the state legislature recently passed a measure to raise the commodity threshold for state agencies to the same $50,000. So with that, thank you, and we'd be happy to address any questions.
Very good. Thank you, Lynn. Any questions for Lynn or Pete? I just want to take a quick moment to thank you both for bringing this forward, and I look forward to other efficiencies that may be identified through the users group that you mentioned.
Very good.
So that sounds interesting. Any other questions at all? Okay. Thank you both.
Thank you
We
all.
appreciate it. Thank you, Director Elliott. Is there anyone else here who would like to speak on item 4C? Anyone else here for item 4C? Very good. Let's go ahead and move on. Madam Clerk.
Okay, I'll call items 4D, E, F, and G together. Item 4D, approving the Shops at Lincoln redevelopment agreement between the city and Shops at Lincoln LLC relating to the redevelopment of property generally located at 6400 O Street. The related fiscal year 23-24 CIP to authorize and appropriate $7,534,974 in tax increment financing for the Shops at Lincoln redevelopment project, authorizing the issuance of tax allocation bonds for the Shops at Lincoln redevelopment project in the amount not to exceed $7,534,974, and authorizing a 0.5% occupation tax effective September 1st of 2024 on gross receipts for the operation of general businesses within the designated enhanced employment area to be used to pay for construction and operation of Shops at Lincoln generally located at 6400 O Street.
Tim, welcome.
Good afternoon. Council Tim C., Assistant City Attorney, filling in today for Director Hind to introduce to you the Shops at Lincoln redevelopment project. Today we take one step closer toward approving the Shops at Lincoln redevelopment project. There are 4 items on your agenda that represent the most recent attempt to rehabilitate and redevelop the former Sears department store, and that is all that is involved today is the former Sears building. It is not the entire mall. As the council is aware from prior action, the council has previously declared this area to be blighted and substandard. That was done in February of 2024. A couple weeks ago, the council approved the East Gateway redevelopment plan. This is just then the next step in that process. So today the council has before it the redevelopment agreement that spells out how to implement that project more specifically. The bond ordinance that is a combined bond ordinance includes both the TIF, the tax increment financing, and as well as the revenue from the occupation tax. There is an occupation tax ordinance that is on your agenda today. And then there is the CIP amendment, which is the method by which you appropriate those funds that are raised through the tax increment financing and the occupation tax. The Sears building has been vacant since 2019. There have been several folks that have come through and tried to make a run at redeveloping it, but that hasn't been successful until now. The team from Reserve Development seems to have solved that puzzle. And in the course of doing so, we'll bring 4 new businesses to Lincoln. So that's an exciting opportunity. By investing approximately $32 million in private money and then the bonded amount of $7.5 million some the occupation tax and the tax increment financing, we can pay for a number of things that are allowed in redevelopment projects. Some administrative costs. There's a driveway on O Street that'll be closed, and there will need to be some reconstruction of the sidewalk that goes along with that. Site acquisition, demolition, site preparation, the restoration and improvement of the building, particularly the facade of that building, to make it a little bit more inviting and appealing space for everyone who's visiting it, as well as some energy enhancements associated with the building. So those are the things that you would hear about being paid for with the occupation tax and the tax increment financing. It'll also restore the value of the building. Right now on the tax rolls, the building has a $0 valuation. So any valuation you see with that property is solely for the land underneath of it. What else? The project will be assisted by, again, the occupation tax. Occupation taxes such as this one are sometimes referred to as an enhanced employment area. It's a tool that was given by the legislature in the community development law. It can be done in one of 2 ways. The South Point model is one. This is the other. This is the occupation tax that's allowed in a blighted and substandard area. That's what we have here. It can be used to pay for anything that included in a redevelopment project. So if TIF can pay for it, the occupation tax can pay for it. That's really the shorthand way of thinking of it. It's a 0.5% sales tax on anything sold that would be subject to sales tax within the project area. And I can show you that briefly.
Yes, Tim, could you please say that again, just so folks are clear?
That's the one. It'll come. So you see the area here that's crosshatched. Let me see if I can zoom in there a little better. So the only area that would be subject to this occupation tax is the Sears building itself and the new businesses that are located within that. The remainder of the mall is west of this line, not included. Buildings along O Street, not included. I think there's 3 buildings here that have been a variety of uses over the years, not included. Only thing we're talking about are the new businesses in the old Sears building.
So if we're shopping at JCPenney or we're shopping at anywhere else in the mall, we're not paying this tax.
They're not paying this tax.
Okay.
Any other questions on that particular item?
Councilwoman.
I do have one question. I did actually try to read through every line of the redevelopment agreement, but for how long is the occupation tax in effect?
The occupation tax will be in effect for no longer than 20 years. So the occupation tax by statute is allowed to run for 20 years. And then the ordinance authorizing the occupation tax, there's a sunset clause that says it goes away August 31st of 2044.
Okay. And what would cause it to be sunset earlier?
If the bonds were paid off and there were no other items to be repaid, it could sunset earlier than that.
Thank you.
Was there more that you wanted?
I just wanted to say thank you to the Reserve Development team. They're here today. They're on a tight timeline. I've probably taken more time than they wanted at this point, but again, they've put a lot of work into this and solved what has to date been a difficult challenge to solve. So I think they should be thanked for that. And then just an opportunity to say this is 4 new businesses coming to Lincoln, and that's something probably to be celebrated. So I would raise that up and answer any questions you might have.
Any questions for Mr. C?
Thank you.
All right, very good. Is there anyone else here who would like to speak on these items? Welcome, Kent.
Well, thank you very much. Kent Seacrest, representing Shops at Lincoln LLC, who's affiliated with Reserve Development LLC out of Dallas, Texas. In the audience in the back of the room, we have 2 representatives, Jeff Strong, who's a principal, and Glenn Gitto is who has kept me out of trouble by giving me all the information I need at the key times, so I want to thank him as well. They now own the Sears building. It's 120,000 square feet. It is also the A.T. Thomas Jewelry Building along O Street, but that is not, the jewelry store is not part of the occupation tax. We want to just talk about the Greater Mall. This is the first start, I hope, to see some further redevelopment. This is what the property looks like today. And again, this is just the Sears building that Tim showed you. I want to talk just a moment about shopping centers because it is a difficult situation these days for them. Gateway was built in 1960. So, we're talking 64 years.
Zoom out for us a little bit there.
Excuse me?
Could you zoom out for us a little bit there? Sorry, we can't see the entirety of your, I apologize.
Forget which button I'm pushing. Okay.
Thank you, Tim.
Thank you. I can't read Zoom anymore. So Sears closed their doors, 5 years ago, and we want to just talk about malls. Some of you were born before malls showed up, and some of us were born before the first malls showed up in Minneapolis in 1956. And by 1960, this was a hot product. 4,500 malls showed up. And in 1970s, it was producing 33% of what I call retail sales. And then that jumped by the mid-80s to 52% of your retail sales were in the malls. And we also grew the malls up to 25,000. So a lot of change. Then things got a little more complicated. We had retailers during the Great Recession have trouble, and therefore thereafter we saw 7,000 major retailers go into bankruptcy or close their doors, and we just had what we started to see as dead malls. They were still somewhat live, but then you started to see different land uses go in there that were not attracting some patrons that you would like to see along the way. By the 1980s, 52%, by Christmas of 2022, there were only 1,100 fully serviced malls. And what's good news is Lincoln's got 2 of them. And we want to keep both of those because they are big generators. I believe this might be collectively the biggest property tax. And even South Point, which is smaller, is $99 million of assessed value. And of course, we don't know what the sales tax receipts are because that's kept by the Department of Revenue and something we do not have information. But I suspect it's might be one of your biggest sales tax receipts. So it's important to keep malls active as possible along the way. What we're talking about is converting this building into 3 brand new tenants, retail tenants new to the Lincoln market, as well as the car care center is now Tesla's first service center in the state of Nebraska, which we're proud about. We also, as part of this, are re-landscaping everything, including the ring roads and the R Street entrance point. And we are going to be talking to the police department about how to get additional security cameras so that we make it very, very, very safe for our employees and customers along the way. Tim mentioned the blight study. And this particular area, we had 8 of the statutory 12 were found strong presence, and on the substandard, 3 of the 4 were found to be strong presence. Tim went over the uses that we're using the funds for, and he also did a good job explaining the tax increment and the occupation tax along the way. So where we are is we also have last year new owners of the Greater Gateway, which we're excited about, and we've been in conversations trying to engage with them on how best to coordinate under the Good Neighbor policy. And we hope to have further conversations with them to make this go forward. This was a fun one for me because 1, malls are imperative to the success, but 2, had a quality, fun developer who got the spirit of Lincoln and realized that you got to do it right. And we had staff that extra speed that I have not seen, which I thought was refreshing, because we're trying to get 3 retailers, or at least 2 of the 3 retailers in before the Christmas season. So that'll be good for all of us along the way. So I want to thank Ernie, Peter Hine, Tim C., and Mike Rogers as bond counsel has been super helpful as well. And with that, I'd be glad to answer any questions you might have.
Any questions for Mr. Seacrest? All right, very good. Yes, Councilman, please.
What's the timetable for completion? I think that was tougher, so I could hear that.
Well, 2 of the 3 are going to be, I think, by October of this year. The 3rd, I think, is February, and Tesla is already open. So you're seeing very quick progress, which is exciting.
Any other questions? Okay, very good.
Thank you so
much. Is there anyone else here who would like to speak on items 4D, E, F, and G? Anyone else here for items 4D, 4E, 4F, and 4G? Counselors, we do have Mr. C, we have Ernie, we have Mike here. Any questions for anyone else before we move forward? Okay, very good. We'll go ahead and end public hearing on those items. I would like to go back to items 4A and 4B, as though that applicant had asked for those items to be put on pending status.
Mr. Chair, I would like to make a motion to move items 4A and item 4B to our pending list, no date certain, and with continued public hearing.
Is there a second?
I'll second.
Second, what?
We'll give it to Duden.
Second, Duden. Councilman Shope?
I was agreeing with the second for Duden.
Very good.
Peanut gallery chiming in.
Madam Clerk, do you want to go ahead and call the roll on that request for pending status?
Schob,
Yes.
Washington,
Yes.
Bowers,
Yes.
Duden,
Yes.
Carlson,
Yes.
Weber,
Yes.
Beckius.
Yes.
Motion carried 7-0.
Thank you, Councilman Weber. Let's go ahead and move on to ordinances.
Ordinances, 3rd reading and related resolutions. Item 5A is text amendment 24002, application of Olson Inc. to amend Lincoln Municipal Code Section 27.72.060, uses permitted or prohibited within required yards by changing the allowed distance from the building for air conditioners or heat pumps to 4 feet instead of 3 feet for the side yard, introduced by Schob.
So moved.
Second.
Second, Weber, discussion. Seeing none, please call the roll.
Washington,
Yes.
Bowers,
Yes.
Weber,
Yes.
Schob,
Yes.
Carlson,
Yes.
Duden,
Yes.
Beckius.
Yes.
Motion carried 7-0. Item 5B is change of zone 07060D, application of Lincoln Federal Bank Corp., Inc. to amend the Wilderness Heights Planned Unit Development to allow an increase of 17,000 square feet of commercial space on Block 2 to increase the allowed commercial square footage within the PUD to 231,000 square feet, an increase of 47 unassigned dwelling units for a total of 1,451 allowed units in the PUD, and to allow townhomes on Block 8 through 10 with associated waivers on the property generally located at the southeast corner of South 40th Street and Yankee Hill Road, introduced by Shob.
So moved.
Second.
Second, Weber, discussion? Seeing none, please call the roll.
Carlson,
Yes.
Duden,
Yes.
Shob,
Yes.
Washington,
Yes.
Weber,
Yes.
Bowers.
Yes.
Beckius.
Yes.
Motion carried 7-0. Okay. That concludes section 5. Section 6 is resolutions, first readings, items 6A through 6D. Section 7 is ordinances, first readings, and related resolutions are items 7A through 7F. And section 8 is our pending list, items 8A through 8H.
I would entertain a motion.
I would move adjournment.
Second.
Second, Carlson, please call the roll.
Duden,
Yes.
Bowers.
Yes.
Shob,
Yes.
Washington,
Yes.
Carlson,
Yes.
Weber,
Yes.
Beckius.
Yes,
Motion carried 7-0.
we are adjourned.